Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Welcome to the monthly webinars for the LGMA constituency to the NFCC towards COP30. My name is Yunus Erkan. I'm the Director of Advocacy, Global Advocacy at ICLE, Local Government for Sustainability, and this presentation and the webinar is designed in our capacity as the UNFCCC focal point, LGMA focal point. As our previous practices, we are keeping 30 more seconds or so for all the colleagues to settle down with their links so that they can smoothly follow or engage in the webinar. Therefore, we appreciate your flexibility for 30 more seconds or so. Good. I think we're relatively okay and we can kick off. So once again, welcome to the monthly webinar for the LGMA constituency delivered by ICLE in its capacity as the focal point. Today's agenda that we would like to go through with you is presented as follows. So as our usual practice, we will have our introduction, basics of our constituency. We will go through a bit more our 100 days to COP30, and now we're more clear about COP30 in Brazil, which is both geographically and time-wise, it's a bit extended. We will touch upon that. We will highlight some of our national mobilization practices on multi-level NDCs or multi-level climate action, which is really very inspiring and very, very promising from town halls to champ. We will see what we have achieved or we are prepared for in terms of our road tour from Addis Ababa to New York. We will very briefly highlight about the action agenda, and we would like to spend most of our agenda for the position, the vision of LGMA COP30 vision transforming into position. So we have several updates on that. And there, especially, I would like to invite my colleagues from the LGMA drafting committee and Ariel and Kaz also leading us in the drafting this process in the compilation, and others as well. And we will reserve our last agenda for preparations for the Urban and Climate Ministerial, as well as Citizen Regions Hub. And there, I'm very delighted that I will be joined by my colleague Lea Renalder from UN Habitat. So again, a couple of housekeeping rules. These sessions are publicly announced, and it is recorded. It is mainly for the LGMA constituency members, but others can also, of course, interact and provide inputs. We record the sessions and make available in our YouTube channel, as well as the presentation that you can receive the links later on. We usually recommend you to stay until the end of our presentation, which is around 30 to 35 minutes or so. In between, you are more than welcome to type in your or comments or questions. And if there's anything burning, we are always open for the floor or in the feedbacks and inputs if needed. So let's kick off. These first couple of slides are mainly a background, and I see in the participant list of this webinar, there are several new colleagues, so we will not go too much on the details, but just to keep all of us on the same page, we are the voice of subnational cities, towns, regions, states in the UNFCCC process since '95. We are one of the first three constituencies. We influence the negotiations, we support the high-level champions to set the action agenda. We interact with the presidencies so that their own agendas are complementing what we have achieved and what is our goal on the way forward on the implementation of the UNFCCC and Paris Agreement. And of course, we interact with the national governments, parties to the UNFCCC, because at the end of the day, when any decisions are adopted, you have to get their endorsement so that since it's a party-driven process, they are the ones who sign off or agree or reject. So we have to also work all our friendly nations And as you may always be aware, there's never a static definition of who is involved in this group because nations change, politics change, and the countries whom we are working a couple of years ago, maybe not as much as enthusiastic with us. So that's the beauty of and the beast of the negotiations, intergovernmental negotiations. We are assessing our 30 plus years of our engagement in four phases. The first couple of years where we were recognized thanks to Earth Summit, Agenda 21, as a constituency, but we were not engaged too much in the first 10 years because UNFCCC and Kyoto Protocol did not acknowledge us. And on the way to Copenhagen, we kicked off our most ambitious advocacy campaign, recognition, engagement, and empowerment of local and regional governments. Copenhagen failed, and when we continue in between these processes, we continue to create new initiatives and continue to engage in the UNFCCC negotiations, and we get the results in the Paris Agreement, the recognition of all importance of all levels of governments in the preamble, and then exploded because as soon as you are recognized, you can now justify your engagement in and outside UNFCCC. So many initiatives, significant decisions in Glasgow, the term multi-level for the first time integrated, and in Dubai, that is, parties are urged for multi-level action, followed by a mitigation discussion on urban systems, which is complementing their recognition and adaptation as well. Meanwhile, we have numerous initiatives, especially Surge, Champ, MAP with the presidencies, and that's where we are now. That is, we are in the new phase of this starting from Belém. We are ready for a new era of climate action, hopefully more ambitious, more multi-level, and more transformative. The discussions we are having here is monthly repeated, and you can access all the previous the webinars as well as you can also subscribe to our monthly bulletins that we will be very happy if you are interested to receive more detailed links and more detailed updates as well. Our website is covering all our engagement. The screenshot shows COP21, but we also have back to 1990s, I guess, in terms of our engagement in this process, so that we keep a track of what we have achieved. We come to these negotiations, the conference of parties, with our positions on specific topics, depending on the priorities. This is also open for endorsement for the LGMA constituency. We will touch upon this as widely in the next couple of minutes, but this is what we have presented in Baku, and which was really very widely recognized. And we particularly were very happy that it also helped national advocacy, which is one of the most important elements, because the negotiators should be aware of what we ask for or what we expect to have before they leave their capitals. When it comes to engagement in during this blue zone, the negotiations area in these 2 weeks, we have our pavilion since many years. We started this in Copenhagen. There were different models, but starting from Glasgow, we are keeping it as a regular blue zone process, which is accessible for the UNFCCC or those who are accredited to the UNFCCC, in partnership with UN Habitat, since Sharm, especially as the UN agency, and ICLE as the LGMA focal point, with national governments, presidencies host of this, especially in every session. And we have a diversity of LGMA partners engaged in terms of both securing financial viability of this process and enriching the agendas. And we will get back to this new updates at the end of this webinar, at the end of the last sessions of this slides, that we have some updates in the preparations. Those who are aware, Belém is supposed to come with two main, let's say, conclusions. The first is the negotiations in the global design of the architecture of the climate regime. We have ambitious Dubai outcomes, transition from away from fossil fuels, adaptation, loss and damage, and we are recognized appropriately. At least we have our entry doors. In Baku, there was this finance deal crafted, and in Baku, we also had a very important mitigation work program debate on urbanization. So this is now to be reality check, and because we are also concerned globally that there are many countries who are backlashing their commitments, so we want to make sure This is still countries are accountable for their commitments and deliver this, and we are ready to support them. The second part of the discussion is the new national climate plans, so-called NDCs 3.0. For this, they don't need to have any results from Belém. Just on the contrary, they have to bring these results to Belém. So these documents should be prepared already now, and we are also hoping that they will be better than their NDCs 2.0, which was around 2020, because of all these engagements and initiatives and commitments that we have discussed, so that the urban component of NDCs should be much better across the world than what we saw here, and hopefully not below. This was the first sketch as of June. By that time, there were less than 30 submissions. As of today, just only 10 have been added, which is, of course, a warning signal, because this means that around 150 countries have still not submitted their national plans. There are expectations that by New York, September, during the Climate Week, during the General Assembly and Climate Week, there may be more reports available, but it is still concerning, let alone the quality or contents are even worse. So there is a significant concern that the level of ambition is far from what is needed, especially when we are living already in a 1.5-degree heated world. So it's more and more needed for having increased urban components of their indices and a more active multi-level collaboration, because the more they have brought this on the table, we have seen they are more ambitious in their national plans. Commitments can much more turn into actions and results. So that's why we are hoping that this will be a game changer, because of all these efforts with the new NDCs, especially from champion endorser countries and others as well. We are working with the Brazilian presidency actively, especially since Bonn, because that's usually the handover, that the incoming presidency takes over most of the responsibilities. They bring their new delegations and agendas. But of course, officially, Azerbaijan, Azeri government is still the official president of the COP as of today. So any decision is still connected to the bureau that has been established. COP30 presidency is not a member of the bureau of the COP currently. And we have seen, especially on the course of the design of the agenda and the preparations, there have been interaction with the Bureau and the incoming COP30 presidency. But as soon as the COP is kicked off, they will start to keep the presidency role. They have announced a number of innovations, circles, ethical stocktake, 30 spatial envoys, regional, but also thematic. Among them, three of them are very related to us. We're very privileged to have very active dialogues with Philip Young, the Urban Solutions Spatial Envoy. As far as I know, with the others, multi-level action related or urban related negotiators or specialists, we did not have too much interactions. But we're also aware a number of our regional partners are also in touch with their regional envoys as well, because that's also good that they can provide a feedback. We are running a year-round engagement. We are engaged in the global event that is not necessarily bounded by UN procedures like G7, G20, or BRICS. We follow the UN agendas inside the UNFCCC, but also across the UN system in Nairobi, in Geneva, in New York. And we have our own initiatives or own our agendas. We have our world congresses, assemblies, conferences, so that these are the moments where we bring our efforts into the discussion and confirm our approach. Mid-year discussions have always been a valuable opportunity. In Bonn, we have made a fantastic mobilization. It was the most widest and effective one in this whole period of 30 years in terms of the June sessions. We have seen the announcement of the action agenda with a specific focus on Axis 4, on urban development and multi-level action. But we're also aware the logistics are still shaping what could be expected in Belém. We announced on the way to Bonn in early June our vision that is rallying for local to global COP30 and beyond. It has three components: that we will be active in the national level before Belém, We will engage in the negotiations and make sure the commitments are delivered or contribute in this contribution, contribute in the negotiations. Um, and beyond Belém, this is particularly very exciting and challenging because both presidency, which are famous for being legendary for the global environmental governance, pursuant to the role that Rio conferences played in 1992 and 2012, and they would like to have a new momentum by Belém. But there's also the UN80 reform package, which will touch upon this as well. Now we're in the 100 days. This is already 50 days to go now, almost less than 50, 100 days now. We have mapped these events again, this time by monthly basis, but you can see it is also having a lot of interactions, both the ministerial meetings of the national governments, but also our own initiatives. And we have seen significant results from Kuala Lumpur to Rio, from Addis to New York, and we are making sure that the upcoming couple of weeks will be very, very critical. We are advantaged because it's also the time for Urban October. There will be more engagements that we're expecting, and more announcements to come as well. In that regard, there will be more updates from our partners, not necessarily in today's call, but we're tracking what is being achieved over these days, and how we would be prepared for that. This slide is now we're starting to get some new information. We try to map what's going on or what will happen in Brazil. As we have said, Brazil is very ambitious. We're all very, very lucky to have such a powerful presidency in this very critical junction of the negotiations and the global environmental and geopolitical governance. So Brazil will literally be the capital of all these discussions starting from 13th of October. Why 13th of October? Because that's the moment of the pre-COP30. That's an informal gathering of the ministers. And this is the logic is that they just alert each other what are the tensions topics in the negotiations so that they can guide their delegations in the last couple of weeks of their preparations. This year, we are expecting more interactions because of this inclusive and holistic vision of the presidency in terms of the topics, but also the actors. Traditionally, we have 2 seats for LGMA, and this year we would like to suggest that this year we made a very nice experience by establishing our first national LGMA group. Brazilian partners, cities and states, and their networks were very, very uh, motivated to be our bridge to the presidency. They had the fourth meeting as was held last week, which was attended by Minister of Environment, Minister of Cities, and Minister of Foreign Affairs representative at different levels, from the beginning to the end, and they have also developed their ideas. So we would like to reserve these 2 seats, at least one of them, to Brazilian colleagues. Then the second one could be for LGMA global partners so that they can make sure the global perspective. This year, innovation is coming that President has invited a couple of individual organizations. We invite other partners to inform us so that we're aware how many LGMA partners are there. We received one for ICLE, and we were planning that it will be the ICLE South America Secretary to be representing us there. So 2 weeks later, it's now the full COP30 agenda. It's the first encounter is the 3 to 5 of November Local Leaders Forum. Last month, we heard a lot from Bloomberg Philanthropies, which is hosting this summit with or forum with COP30 presidency. More updates are in the making. We're expecting some announcements in New York next week. Of course, this is our constituency's initiative, but it is good that it is designed with the COP30 presidency. Will be culmination of all efforts, and we will touch this on the position discussion, and it will be in Rio de Janeiro. After this is concluded, it's good because it's 2 days, it's connected in time to the Leader Summit. But we don't know, of course, how practically our subnational leaders will be in this leader summit. This is hosted by COP30 presidency on their own. It does not have to abide by any of the UNFCCC procedural engagements for stakeholders. So they have their own calendar and expectations and participant list. So our expectation that from the local leaders forum in Rio, there will be a spillover delegation or or a kind of envoys that will represent us at this leader summit. The number, the diversity, we don't know yet. It will be worked out with the COP30 presidents and Bloomberg as the host of the local leaders forum. Over the weekend, there will be another engagement, this time in Sao Paulo. This will be the investment forum. You may be aware the Minister of Finance of Brazil, Fernando Haddad, is the former mayor of Sao Paulo, and he has been running the climate circle of finance ministers together with the long-term established ministers of finance for climate, which is moderated by the World Bank. And there will also be especially the business community engagements in these weekend before the COP starts. Obviously, these are all outside, and they again are not necessarily bounded by the COP30 or UNFCCC rules. However, we know on the days before the COP, the delegations and the heads of state start to be convened so that they prepare, they make some consultations, some official mandates and events are also scheduled in Belém. So there will be people in Belém over these couple of days. But officially, starting from Monday, is the 10th of November is the kickoff of these 2 full weeks. Our good news that as early as the second week of this agenda, we have the 4th Urban and Climate Ministerial. My colleague Leah will touch upon this in the session in the next couple of minutes. But the COP continues after these sessions. We have to be aware there are some new things this year. Once again, the negotiations will continue, but let's remember it's in 2 parts. The week 1 is the subsidiary by the 63rd session, which is the negotiators who they follow the usual engagements and facilitators and agendas. By Saturday of the first week, they close their agendas, and they say that these are the agendas that we agreed, concluded, but there are still things that we has not been resolved. And that means that starting from second week, the presidency creates the new negotiation tracks. There is a tendency, there is an unwritten practice that the presidents do not introduce too many new topics, but they just facilitate so that it is not something that is imposed to those delegations. That's important because the endorsement or buy-in from the governments is important to success of the outcomes. So this is also the moment where the second week, where the high-level segment starts, sometimes 3 days, sometimes longer, which means ministers will be there in city. This is important because this means in the first week, there will not be too many climate and environment ministers in Belém, in theory. There may be some exceptions, but that's the case. And that will be related to our design of our urban and climate minister, or it is connection to the negotiation throughout the 2 weeks. But it's good to have this as early as possible, and we will hear more from Leah. We will have Cities and Regions Hub for 2 full weeks. We are compiling the applications. We will update you on that. Action agenda. This time there is a zone, which means for 2 full weeks there will be action agenda, and there will be numerous pavilions in the blue zone. We're also aware green zone is always very active. It is not necessarily requested for UNFCCC accreditation, but this year we are expecting the city of Belém, the state of Para, and state of Amapá to be much more ambitious in terms of what they want to introduce, because this is exactly the reason why they are hosting this COP, to demonstrate or to make sure the real life, the real economy, the action on the ground is connected to the diplomacy and advocacy. So it will be turning into a city and region of climate action during these 2 weeks. And here there will be strong outcomes we expect, especially because of all these challenges of the logistics also in Belém, but the opportunities as well. So this is also across the city of Belém, Barcarena, state of Para, and state of Amapá. So by the way, I see some feedbacks. Anton, thanks for reminding us the Urban 20. As far as I remember, it was supposed to be here, but it was a missed opportunity. So thanks for reminding us. Originally, it was in our calendar, but Urban 20 Summit was, of course, important. Thanks for the reminder. So national mobilization. Interesting things are happening. This is exactly where we want to see the action on the ground. Town hall COPs, which is a process initiated as early beginning of this year, building on the Talanoa and the stock takes, we have now been spreading across the world. There are so many cities and regions hosting it, trying to connect climate action at all levels. But we are also seeing exactly the connection to the NDCs and national processes, particularly South Africa in collaboration with the Minister of Environment and the SALGA, the local government association, the national association. This was followed by Malaysia with the Ministry of Housing and Minister of Housing as the UN Habitat President and the city of Kuala Lumpur. And we have seen a similar engagement in Kiribati. This time the president of Kiribati was engaged in town hall clubs with KILGA and Commonwealth Local Government Forum. In parallel, we have seen new champ endorsers from Sweden and Bolivia, which is Global North, Global South. This is really exciting us, so that it is really a mobilization that is that has to be now be acknowledged in the design of this new era of climate action. Obviously, this is not introducing anything to all, but that's exactly why we want to shape the decisions, the outcomes in negotiations in Belém, so that it could be much more globally recognized process. The Kuala Lumpur Town Hall COP and the presidency of UN Habitat and the Minister of Housing of Malaysia is particularly important because there are so many references to the LGMA proposals. There is a specific request for a new urban agenda connection, and especially UN Habitat teams and Minister of Cities of Brazil are now taking up how this will be now turning into action. We just heard, for example, ASEAN ministers of environment, ministers of housing, and China has endorsed this Kuala Lumpur call to action, which is really, really powerful for all of us. We had seen a very active engagement in Africa Climate Summit and Climate Week in Addis Ababa. I would suggest we can come back to this in terms of the impact so that we can still continue with our discussions on the upcoming agendas, but it was impressive. There was a very huge diversity of our partners and leaders, and it was also giving the opportunity Africa to be elevating its profile in the negotiations. Let's remember, Africa will also host COP32 in 2027, and Ethiopia announced its commitment to host, or at least candidacy to host it. This COP is particularly important because that is the year when IPCC's special report on cities will be concluded, and it will be hopefully expected to receive a response from UNFCCC. So if we can make sure a legacy from Belém with a country like Brazil, which is so good on climate federalism, on multi-level action and urbanization, can build or leave a legacy so that it gives us the chance that the IPCC report is not forgotten or ignored by UNFCCC, because we know IPCC reports are always, there's never a guarantee that it may receive an action from UNFCCC, although it's the spirit. New York City will be the host of diplomacy, global diplomacy in the next 10 days. It's already started negotiations, but it's mainly diplomats. But starting from 22nd onwards or 21 onwards, so many partners are arriving in New York. This year is a bit unique. There are some limitations of participation because of the Trump administration's approach to domestic and international partners, including United Nations and global sustainability agenda. So there are different situations. Some events are not, traditional events are not being hosted or convened. Participation is becoming less inclusive. And of course, this is a worrying signal for all of us because New York and these weeks are supposed to be welcoming everyone under the tent of the United Nations. And as the host country, US was supposed to help this. There is so many high-level events, and the geopolitics is very, very tough. A number of agendas like Palestine, obviously, will be creating a debate. There will be so many high-level meetings. We will touch upon this next slide on the UN 80 reforms as well. Climate Week is outside. Of course, it's in the city of New York. So many venues and so many actors. Of course, it's so good to see the mobilization. We can almost hardly track this. What we know, COP30 presidency will have events on 22nd and 23rd, on 24th, and UN Secretary General Climate Summit, which is led by UN Secretary General, will host some events, and there will be summit. As of today, it's not clear which partners are involved or invited, but we are happy to hear what we have made in our list tracking sheet. We have some of these events involved. Therefore, we recommend each partner to share their updates from their own channels instead of a joint LGMA announcement as such. New York City is not just climate, but it's also the 80th anniversary this year of the United Nations. It is particularly important for two reasons. One, there is already a legacy of the Pact of the Future, and we have a fantastic opportunity of Action 55E of the Pact for the Future, which mandated the Secretary General to work on expanding opportunities for engagement of local and regional governments. Good news, there is a report released by 8th of July by the UN Secretary General, where we have contributed as the networks to the Global Task Force. It contains a number of very, very innovative ideas. We do not know now how this will be incorporated. One opportunity now on the table is that because it was discussed under the agenda item of the strengthening of the United Nations system, it can be continuing in this year's agenda, which is now shaping by two processes. One, Secretary General has created its own UN80 initiative, but United Nations governments or parties have also decided to create an informal ad hoc group to discuss as nations how to take this forward. The good news, since this our Action 55E is part of the United Nations system agenda, it can still find its way. However, we're also aware last year the UN General Assembly had an agenda on UN habitat, and this year it does not exist because of the agreement that it will be in every 2 years. So we are this time a bit stressed how this will be taken up. There is a Friends of UN Habitat, we know that, and sustainable urbanization. And there's a need for them to be more aggressively involved in the UN80 initiative. The group of delegations who will be involved in the informal ad hoc group will be announced on Friday, this Friday, and it is very likely that UN Secretary General will release its own proposals, including some uh, proposals for UN system merger or restructuring. Um, COP30 action agenda is accelerated in the last month. There was already an official webinar on the 29th of August. The documents are much more available. There is an opportunity that partners can express their interest to join specific thematic groups, but mostly for us, Axis 4. There is a secretariat, which is a bit different than in the past. It's a combination of presidency, Marrakesh Partnership, and international organizations. And there's a timeline. So there are working groups, activation groups, which consist of those initiatives who are acknowledged as initiatives, are now designing their granary of solutions, both good practices, but also the future accelerating solutions. We are expecting announcements in New York, and maybe a new website may be open. And it's still not over. You can still contribute. Several LGMA partners are involved. Several of the LGMA partners are either a member of the group or in the members of Secretariat. We as ICLE are trying to facilitate 11, 15, and 26 in the Secretariat, but many LGMA partners are um, in the activation groups beyond Axis 4. On the way, we have also communicated the LGMA response because the presidency agenda was slightly different than the 5 years plan of the Marrakesh Partnership. Now they have combined and they have presented the results. So we have presented our inputs in although a bit delayed with the deadline, but it is still received by the champions and the UNFCCC institutional teams following the Global Climate Action Agenda. And in that sense, it was a very brief two-page document. We made a frank assessment of what we have achieved and what were our disappointments or failures, but in a constructive manner. And we have listed three main expectations that this process cannot be just only for COP. It should be a structured and year-round engagement in all connections, as especially to the NDCs 3.0 now. It cannot be isolated. That's because of also the logic of the presidency, that they want to connect the action agenda to the global stocktake outcomes. Second, very important, there is a paragraph 19F which foresees a spatial engagement role or mechanisms for subnational actors. And we are suggesting explicitly that this should go through the LGMA constituency, which was not the case in the past. And third, all these initiatives are great. Every year, presidency is receiving professional support from some consultants, but the people on the ground, the institutions on the ground, which are us, actors, should receive more financial and technical support so that we can bring the results, so that we can demonstrate that what we are committing, what we are voluntarily committing, is receiving the necessary contributions. I know it was a long and heavy. We are just in the last 2 minutes. I just want to check first. So we are going from negotiations to positions. We agreed that the vision cannot be turned into a position like that. So we are now received all the input from all the thematic drafting groups. We have been discussing that how we would launch this, make publicly an endorsement. The latest discussion that is going on is that we are very happy to see so many inputs, but there is also a need for prioritization. And there's also that we have heard last month, the COP30 Local Leaders Forum will also have an outcome statement. So we are now discussing that there could be the model in the sense that a very succinct, focused 2 or 3 page executive summary can be made available before the climate summit of the UN Secretary General on 24th of September. This can focus on 3 main things. One, what is really the COP30 legacy for multi-level action and urbanization? It could be a conceptual approach, or it could contain some specific links, languages. We could definitely put what exactly we want from the ongoing negotiations on finance, adaptation, just transition, because we have made so many progress there. And we can acknowledge that from Belém onwards, we are preparing for a new global climate and sustainable governance. We can make the more detailed texts open for endorsement by 30th of September onwards through the LGMA bulletin. By the time we reach to the pre-COP30, we can make any remaining texts that could be introduced later on made available, plus our experience, our vision of a compendium of national mobilization for multi-level climate action. And then, especially this vision of a new governance beyond Belém, we could check how this could be then synergized with the local leaders forum outcome statement. In taking in this account, we are aware we are not at point zero, especially on mitigation, adaptation, and finance and initiatives. There are so many things built on in the UNFCCC process and outside, like UNHABITAT and UNEP. The important thing is that this year onwards is the convergence of all these in a more systematic way, thanks to Action Agenda Access 4, and being aware IPCC report is coming. So this is the logic how we can connect all these discussions. I am now aware Lea is on the line. I don't see, Katat, help me, is Ariel on the line or anyone from the drafting group are here?
I believe Ariel is not on the line.
Toby, Amelia, I see Amalia.
Yeah.
I see Agat.
He is also.
Dear colleagues, Agat and Amelia and Toby, would you like to come now, or would you like to come after Lea makes also the additional updates on the Belém agenda? We are flexible, I guess. Okay. Agat says that they can come out. She can come after. I think this will be a consensus. Thanks for your response, Agat. Lea, let's hear from you. We have kept your slides from last webinar, so 2 of the slides are here. And the last slide is reserved for the Cities and Regions Hub. So the floor is yours, Leah. If you have any latest slides, we can also share your screen. Don't worry.
Wonderful. Thanks, Yunus, and hi everybody from Nairobi. I hope you can hear me okay, because Nairobi is having a bit of an internet issue this week. So maybe just super briefly, there hasn't been major updates on this quite yet, but just as a reminder, all the activities related to the ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change are expected to take place on the 11th of November. I can plug in my fantastic comms opportunity again, 11/11 for SDG 11. So we'll have these 4 roundtables. They're shaping up quite nicely. Just as a reminder, 4 roundtables, thanks Yunus for bringing up that slide. Housing and the transformation of informal settlements, science research, linked also to the IPCC special report, then finance, and then cities, nature, and climate. We're also aligning everything with the buildings ministerial that will be hosted by UNEP on that same day. So in terms of how that day is structured, preliminarily, I do need to say that, is 2 roundtables in the morning, then the buildings ministerial, 2 roundtables in the afternoon, and then the closing ceremony. Again, a reminder here for everybody, we are looking for speakers who will be on the ground, for local leaders to be placed into either of these roundtables or also for the closing ceremony. We've already had a couple of nominations through Yunus, so thanks so much. But again, really wanting to make sure that these roundtables and now more than ever can connect to the global debates, to the regional as well as the national debate that are happening, to make sure we can connect the dots. We're really looking for speakers who have a story to share, an example, a best practice to share, also with the hope that we can use this also to potentially gather more inputs into the IPCC special report, for example, but also to scale up action. So again, please do reach out to me. We have a tracking sheet. I'll plop the link in this chat, but also alternatively, please do reach out to me in case there's any speakers that you think should absolutely be there as part of the ministerial meeting. Just one last sentence, and Yunus already referred to it. We are working with the COP30 special envoy on seeing how we can land this ministerial meeting also in support of strengthening cities and regions more into the overall COP processes. So most likely, still to be confirmed, there will be a declaration coming out of the ministerial meeting of the closing ceremony, and both the COP30 special envoy as well as the UNHA president are really gathering support for this movement right now, which is what Yunus referred to right now, just now. There's strong endorsement from this coming from African ministers coming out of conversations of Africa Climate Week and Summit last week, but also from the ASEAN ministers. So really something I'm happy to share more updates as it evolves, but definitely something where we're really looking to connect the dots with the efforts of course what is coming out of the LGMA position paper, but also making sure that local leaders can support this. I think that's it.
Thank you, Leah. Actually, you can also continue about the hub if you wish.
Sure, I can maybe say 2 sentences about the hub and then Yunus letting you compliment. So we have, as of yesterday, officially a confirmation that the hub will happen, which is exciting. So we are accepting session proposals for the Cities and Regions Hub. We have a new deadline. You have another week to submit your proposals. What we are looking for, again, we really want this to be the space where we connect local leaders to the negotiations, where we can make sure we reflect on, so to say, the global mochirao at a local level. So we are incredibly excited that this hub will happen. We are also working, again, new innovation and really exciting The hub will be part of a neighborhood. So we're staying within that city's theme. So it will be part of, so to say, 4 pavilions that will be put together. So that's our Cities and Regions Hub, that's the UNEP Buildings and Cooling Pavilion, it's the Water Pavilion, and it's the CDRI Pavilion with a focus on resilience. And all of these hubs will be connected through a town hall plaza in the middle, which will be a space for coffee, networking, really for all of us collectively to hang out. So I'm hoping if anybody's thinking, should I meet? Where should I have my bilaterals? It will be in this town hall plaza, because that will be our collective meeting space at COP30. And we're hoping to really create that buzz as a town hall plaza should have. We're looking at creative ways to make sure that both the hub is well connected to the outside world, but also that we can use this town hall plaza space as an opportunity to connect to past, present, and future events, but also that we're also working on creating a joint narrative for these 4 hubs as well, and some joint events. So definitely a new innovation, something really exciting, and looking forward to working with all of you on turning this ambition and dream into reality. Back to you,
Thanks,
Jonas.
Leah. Before handing over to Agathe, Toby, and Amalia from the drafting committee for the position, just on clarification on the LGMA nominations for the ministerial, you may be all aware it has been a challenge in terms of who will be in Belém on these days, in terms of logistics, accommodation, and even the quota. So those who are in this call and those who are connected to this process, you may be aware that the NGO quotas are announced as of Monday. And we have already started as of last week to track the delegation of LGMA, especially the leaders level, so that in case now you have information about the presence of your delegation in Belém, especially on these days, we will be more than happy, because as far as we assume, virtual participation will be limited. So it's mainly an in-person event in this ministerial. So that's why it's important that we are aware who is there, so that then we can convey the LGMA delegation to UN Habitat and COP30 presidency, so that they can consider who could be involved, depending on their expertise, regional balance, of course, gender balance, and all these traditional criteria that applies in every session. So Amalia, Agathe, Toby, and whoever in the call or in the drafting committee, I just kept that slide. I hope it summarizes what we discussed the last couple of days and weeks. Feel free to come in how you are seeing how this process is evolving. You can raise your hands. Kata will help you so that you can turn on your cameras as well. Meanwhile, I see a question from Carl, but I'll come back to this later on.
Hi, Eunice, and hi, everyone. This is Amelia from the Global Covenant of Mayors here. Thank you, Eunice, for flipping this back to some of the drafting committee to share thoughts. I think you summarised this very well. We're hoping to be able to pull together this executive summary towards the end of this week, covering those points, and then looking forward to those endorsements from the 30th of September onwards. Please bear with us as we pull this together. And yeah, we will come back when that draft is ready.
Great. Do you want to comment on what could be the potential elements, or how do we see the connection to the rest of the couple of events that we have discussed, like the pre-COP and especially the COP30 Local Leaders Forum? Maybe in this opportunity, if Agathe is coming to complement, maybe I can respond to the question by Carl in this chat box that goes in the communicated there. He's asking about invitations to the forum in Rio, and here I don't know whether we have colleagues from Bloomberg last month in our presentation. They were with us. We were very happy with them. Their updates were in the caveat that there will be more information coming up. So far, I don't know how the process is evolving. So anyone from this group involved in this webinar, if there is any one who can update on the local leaders forum participation of local leaders or invitations, that will be appreciated. It's also possible other colleagues who are in the other drafting groups can also share their updates. We know in the adaptation there has been very good progress on the indicators, which is designed for local needs, which is what we have been asking for. On the finance discussion, our colleagues are making some progress. Just transition submissions are also involved. Feel free to come in if you want on these topics as well. And I'm also very happy to see all the new topics, from food to culture, from nature to the UN80 discussions are getting more input. There are some sections that we know there are some discussions, like especially the relation with indigenous communities, land use and forest, which I am a bit disappointed that there is not a concrete text yet. I've seen especially interactions with food. Peter was representing the LGMA in the Standing Committee on Finance focusing on food in Rome, and mitigation work program discussions in Addis are also now feeding into those things. So it's true, its diversity is good, but as we said, we have to focus on some topics. Again, what is our legacy we want? And of course, we cannot impose anything to COP30 presidency or the negotiations, but at least we can say what we wish to see, or at least the frame, the minimums, and the fine languages, of course, will be coming in the coming days and weeks. I'm just checking any additional points. Feel free to type also if you want anything on the chat box as you want. Leah was mentioning about the Habitat Assembly minister making some progress. We look forward to some discussions. You may be aware UN Habitat Executive Board will also have some meetings, their official board meetings after COP, and it is before UN Environment Assembly, which is also a very good opportunity for all of us. I see a hand raised, but I couldn't see who.
Agathe.
Agathe, sorry. Please, come Agathe.
Thanks. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yunus, we can't see the questions in the chat. I think you've mentioned that there were some.
I can read if you want. Or Kata,
yeah,
can
would
you
that
read
be
it?
possible?
The
Can
one
you read
in
it,
the
Kata?
chat? Or the one?
Yeah, it's the same question on the Q&A box from Carl.
I don't know if we have access. Oh, okay, separate box, Q&A. Thank you.
But Agathe, you can read it loud so that others also are aware of the question.
Yeah, no worries. So we have a question from our colleague Carl, asking more detail how local government participants to the local leaders summit from 3 to 5th October. I think they probably meant November.
Yeah.
Will be chosen, selected, and who do we liaise with on this? In the case of the chairperson from Belize City, Mayor Wagner, specifically to attend, for example. I don't have the answer to that question. I do not know how invites are being put together for the local leaders forum on 3 to 5th of November. But we've heard this question now several times. I think several of us who are in touch with Bloomberg Philanthropies on a regular basis, who are the main sponsors of this event, we can try and find out on behalf of the rest of LGMA. So why don't a couple of us try and get this information out of our colleagues? I know Amelia can speak a little bit about the fact that the local leaders forum intends to have an outcome document coming out. So I don't know, Amelia, if you want to come back in to explain a little bit about it. And then I realize we'll be really close to time, but thank you, Yunus, earlier for this week, the message about nominations for pre-COP. How are these things looking? Are you overwhelmed by requests, or how do we think we can prepare ourselves?
Short answer, no. But we have kept the promise that one is reserved to Brazilians, and they wanted to shift. Maybe day one is reserved for some, and day two is reserved for some. And we want to keep one for LGMA. So any nominations are more than welcome. And I also encourage any partners to inform us if they received any special invitation. As I said, if they received an invitation, I don't know who else. We ask this question. Who have they invited? Individual organizations. So it will also be good, then we can see who are there. But what we know in case of these additional invitations, the interactions during the ministerial breakout groups will be limited primarily to the constituency speakers. So it will not be individual organizations, but the constituency representative who will take the floor, if not stated otherwise. So feel free to nominate. They didn't give a deadline. And I think they will be flexible in the next couple of days. Everybody's now focused on New York now. Sorry, I just disturbed you, but if there are other points, please go ahead. Agat.
I'm all done, and in fact, I've answered a
Okay.
question in written as well. If other people can look
I
at the question box, they can see the response there.
Oh, good. Fantastic. Thanks. There was Amalia, I mean, don't feel stressed about what else you can share. But it's also open for others to contribute if they wish. We, as I said, are expecting some more information on the engagement in New York. The full list is not available. Some partners are invited to some events, so let's hope we will make sure there will be good show up. We know there are specific events like Under2 is having their ministerial meeting there. There will be like climate mayors of the US having their own events. Each of the partners have their own specific events. But the purpose is that how much we can engage in the official UN agendas. Those who are familiar, Pablo, I see you here. We discussed with Pablo Martinez that Global Task Force will not have any agenda in New York at the UN General Assembly this year for a variety of reasons. I know UN Habitat is in touch with Kenya for a special event on housing. Again, UN Habitat does not have any agenda in the UN General Assembly 18th session, so it's also difficult for them to justify or create their space in the official negotiations. And I think we will all be alerted about what the UN 80 reforms package or process would evolve and what it would mean for all of us. I'm just bringing the text again here. In terms of the future of the UN institutions, their structures, their composition, their staffing, their budgets, their relation with us is all off the table. Just want for you to know the UN80 initiative Inform Weather Group has a mandate to present a result or midterm result on the 15th of November, December, sorry, and final report in March 2026. In between, you may be aware in our LGMA 100 days to COP, yes, we forgot Urban 20, thanks Anton, but we have UN Forum of Mayors in Geneva, hosted by UNEC or Secretariat served by UNEC, but it is a global forum. We may also expect some meetings or outcome from that meeting. I'm not sure whether Kamalia, who is supporting the forum as Global Cities up here, they can also provide some updates if needed. I'm just also being conscious of the time. 2 more minutes to go for this round of our webinar. Any last points, last updates, clarifications? Feel free to come in.
Eunice, I am happy to quickly come in on the LLF outcome statement, as you mentioned, as part of that timeline running up to the COP. So this is just to let colleagues know that Bloomberg Philanthropies have asked a small group of network organisations to draft a statement together that will come out of the Local Leaders Forum. And this is currently being styled as a message from local leaders to COP30 in a sort of statement of support and offer of collaboration from the LLF towards the COP. And there's still quite a lot to be determined. So drafting has just begun on this, and we're looking at sort of what the endorsement model might be for that. So really looking forward to coming back to this group when we have an update.
Thanks, Amelia. And again, this year we have to be conscious about these processes, how they will complement each other. And I think it's good. Why? Because then in the past, as you may remember, we were relying on the LGMA position papers. We had an announcement of CHAMP or surge at the end of the presidency initiatives. The ministerials in the past, they produced some outcome documents, but it was not in a declaration format, and it was already too late when the sessions were almost over. So they also did not have envisaged this. But now what we are seeing is that there will be an LGMA COP30 positions, which is our wish, the wish of the networks of local and other subnational governments in this process on all agendas of COP30, all processes. Then there will be the COP30 Local Leaders Forum, which is a joint initiative of Bloomberg and Presidency, which is recognized as an official, let's say, parallel event or contributing event, which is very likely will be connecting to the COP30 Leaders Forum, heads of state, because of its proximity and the actors involved. They will also produce a declaration or whatever, not declaration, sorry, outcome document. We don't know what terminology. But of course, this will also be slightly different because it's the political leaders there. And that's what we want to differentiate, how we could justify content-wise, endorsement-wise. So this will be available by the mid of the first week of November, by 5th of November. This means that leaders, heads of states and heads of governments, and subnational leaders who are hoping to attend or prepare to attend will have these in their hands. So there will be COP30 position in their hands. There will be COP30 Local Leaders Forum outcome document in their hands. And when they arrive all into Belém on the second day, by the end of the second day, there will also be a declaration mainly driven by ministers of urbanization, and we'll see how they will interact with the ministers of climate and environment with UN Habitat. Again, this is a different body, this is a different ownership, and this is a different endorsement. And each of those, the expectation that they converge, but they can touch upon different parts, and because of their mandates in this process, a commitment of a local leader and network could definitely be a different, or a commitment from a ministerial declaration, or the nitty-gritty details of all negotiation items could be different than a vision. What do we see this new era of climate action beyond COP30, in the middle of all these complexities, but also the opportunities? So obviously, the language it's not surprising, it has to be different. It has to have a different endorsement, and it has to have a different purpose, but it has to go along with our vision that we are rallying for a local to global COP30, and each complement each other so that they do not contradict. That is the minimum we all would like to see. They should not contradict, they should converge, they should complement, and all these will see how many of these languages, how many of these pages, how many of these paragraph sentences will be available or adopted or included in the final text. You remember in Glasgow, we fought for multi-level when there was no statement, no text in the beginning of the second week. The British or UK presidency produced a result. In the LGMA pavilion, we mobilized ourselves, we rushed to all the nations, even those remotely, they run it, and we had the language in the preamble. In Dubai, again, there was this global stocktake results, and we rushed, we had pushed it, and it came into paragraph 161. And there were so other the processes coming up. So it's all a combination of different formats, different modalities, and we have to be alert, and we have to be available, and we have to be ready for all these options. Okay, one final announcement. So a couple of closing remarks. Please tracker, COP30 tracker, especially for the delegations that you expect to see in Berlin. This is important so that we can nominate them to a ministerial. The Cities and Regions Hub deadline next week. Please take this seriously so that we can again come up with a very powerful agenda with the new missions and innovations. And finally, the expectation about there was one thing I was sorry. The next LGMA webinar was originally designed as 5th of November because we know that this will be the week before COP30, that it will be our last communication. But now we see there's this forum. Obviously, we cannot have a webinar when there's a forum convening there. So it's very likely it will be the last week of October, 29, 30, or 31st of October. We'll come back to you on the final date. Those who are registered do not have to repeat again their registration. It will follow their calendars. Those who want to register again, feel free to do that. The final LGMA COP30 position statement, or let's say majority of it, will be open for endorsement with the LGMA webinar on LGMA bulletin on the 30th of September, online, obviously, and you will receive also endorsement links as well. I think these are a couple of last announcements as a concluding remark. And thanks for all your attention, participation, and wish you a fruitful, happy, and a nice day, evening. And let's stay in touch, especially in the New York and other agendas. Thank you.